Not every smiling face is a safe one. Some smiles are practiced, worn like masks, by people who no longer mean you well. There comes a moment when the ones closest to you begin to feel unfamiliar, not because they've changed their words, but because their presence carries a weight you can't ignore. Your spirit notices before your mind does. The room feels heavier when they arrive. Your breath shortens. Your guard rises without explanation. This is not imagination, and it isn't superstition. It is awareness. A quiet recognition that something is off. What looks like ordinary conversation can slowly drain you, leaving you tired, anxious, or strangely empty. You walk away wondering why your energy disappeared, why your confidence shrank, why peace felt easier before they showed up. You've felt this before. The subtle tension, the unease that lingers long after the interaction ends. These are not random emotions. They are signals. Not every harmful influence is loud or obvious. Some hide behind familiarity, humor, concern, and shared history. If you've ever asked yourself why someone consistently leaves you feeling worse, that question matters. It's your inner warning system trying to speak. This isn't about ghosts or fantasy. It's about influences that move through people, shaping behavior, feeding on control, confusion, and emotional erosion. They don't attack all at once. They weaken you slowly, quietly, from the inside. Some spirits don't haunt places. They attach to relationships. They thrive where boundaries are weak and loyalty is blind. They smile, they listen, they stay close, not to protect you, but to access you. Your peace is valuable. Your clarity is dangerous to anything that survives on chaos. Today we uncover 10 unshakable signs that reveal what hides behind familiar faces, so you can recognize the difference between connection and corrosion and protect what was never meant to be taken from you. There are people in your life who never raise their voice, never insult you, never touch you with harm, yet somehow leave you emptied. Their presence alone drains you, like a slow leak you can't locate. You enter the room steady, even hopeful, and you leave feeling depleted. Your mood sinks, your peace fractures. You search for reasons. Maybe they were tired. Maybe you're imagining it. But beneath every excuse, your inner knowing is already awake. These are the ones who rarely give, yet constantly take. Your time, your attention, your emotional labor. Every conversation circles back to their struggles, their chaos, their storms. Without asking, they unload their weight onto you and walk away lighter, leaving you to carry what was never yours. You become the container for what they refuse to face. This isn't ordinary exhaustion. It's deeper than mood or mindset. Your body may not see it, but your spirit recognizes the exchange. Something in you senses that your light is being siphoned, not celebrated. They may wear the face of a friend, a sibling, a familiar voice you've trusted for years, but beneath the surface there is an imbalance that feeds on your vitality. It's a quiet form of parasitism, often unconscious, sometimes unintentional, still dangerous. You don't heal it by dismissing your instincts or calling yourself sensitive. You heal it by listening to the warning that keeps repeating. That discomfort isn't weakness, it's intelligence. Your energy is not unlimited, it is currency, and not everyone earns access to it. Begin to notice the aftermath of every interaction. Do you feel steadier or shaken, strengthened or scattered, filled or hollowed out? These answers tell the truth long before words do. Destruction doesn't always arrive loudly. It doesn't always look evil. Sometimes it smiles. Sometimes it speaks gently. Sometimes it calls you family. But if every encounter pulls you further from your peace, your purpose, or your power, you are not facing simple toxicity. You are facing sabotage. You don't need confrontation. You don't need explanations. You don't need to save or fix anyone. Distance is enough. Walking away is enough. Reclaiming your energy is the victory. Your spirit has been warning you all along. Believe it and understand this too. Some people don't attack you directly. They divide what surrounds you. They twist truth quietly, strategically, like a serpent tightening around your connections until trust suffocates. They don't lie blatantly, they distort. A detail removed here, a tone shifted there, a story framed just enough to plant doubt and suspicion. They position themselves as the neutral witness, the caring messenger, the only one who understands, all while relationships fracture in their wake. This is how light is dimmed without being noticed. Protect your peace, guard your energy, your life depends on it. Their weapon is suggestion, soft phrases delivered with a careful pause. I don't want to say anything but, or maybe you should keep an eye on them. Nothing overt, nothing you can confront directly, just enough to create a fracture in your trust, just enough to make you look sideways at the people who genuinely care, while they quietly position themselves as the only safe place left. As you drift from those who protect your spirit, you become easier to influence, more dependent, more malleable. This is how the damage is done, not through open conflict, but through subtle distortion. A comment here, a doubt there. They stir emotion, then step back and watch confusion spread, pretending they had no role in it. If they can weaken your foundation, your support system, your clarity, your sense of belonging, they can shape how you see the world. You begin questioning good intentions. You start trusting stories over facts. Slowly, almost imperceptibly, their version of reality becomes yours. This is warfare disguised as conversation. The danger is how convincing it feels. These people often appear loyal, even loving. They insist they're just being honest, just looking out for you, just telling the truth no one else will say. But beneath the concern is something corrosive, a quiet poison placed between you and your peace. You'll notice the effects before you see the source. Growing paranoia, second-guessing relationships that once felt solid, a heaviness that settles over your world until you trace every fracture back to the same presence, the same voice, the same helpful commentary. That pattern is not accidental, it's deliberate. Destruction doesn't always shout. Sometimes it whispers, it gaslights, it charms, it divides. Pay attention to those who constantly create separation, but never bring healing, who expose flaws in others while never taking responsibility themselves. They are not protecting you, they are isolating you, and isolation is the doorway to control. Guard your mind, guard your connections. Be wary of concern that leaves you weaker instead of stronger. Some people celebrate your brokenness. They are attentive when you fall apart, when your heart is raw, when your plans collapse. They sit beside you in the rubble. But watch what happens when you begin to rise, when clarity returns, when confidence takes root. Their tone changes, their warmth fades, sarcasm replaces support, distance replaces closeness. Your healing threatens them. Your strength dismantles the role they enjoyed playing. Your power exposes what they've been hiding. And that shift tells you everything you need to know. As long as you're struggling, they feel important, needed, elevated. Your pain gives them purpose. But the moment you stand upright, the moment your confidence returns, something in them shrinks. So they'd rather keep you dependent than see you self-directed, uncertain instead of empowered. That's the truth most people don't want to face. They don't love you as you are becoming. They love the version of you that made them feel superior, the version that doubted itself, the version that needed reassurance, approval, permission. They're comfortable with your wounds because wounds don't challenge them, but growth does. When you begin setting boundaries, prioritizing your peace, dreaming beyond survival, their discomfort leaks out. Jealousy slips into jokes. Your ambition becomes something to mock. Your progress is dismissed as fake, temporary, unrealistic. They'll say things like, "Don't forget where you came from," not to keep you grounded, but to pull you back down to a level where they still feel safe. They don't want to see you win unless they're positioned above you. And that's how you know you're dealing with more than personality flaws. You're dealing with a spirit that fears light, feeds on insecurity, and feels threatened by your evolution. Watch closely how people respond not to your suffering, but to your healing. Anyone who bonds more deeply with your weakness than your growth is not a companion. They are a liability. Destruction doesn't always come through hostility. Sometimes it arrives as comfort, but comfort that keeps you broken is not care. It's control. Stop mistaking pity for loyalty. Real love doesn't compete with your power. It fuels it. Notice how they treat your boundaries, not as limits, but as obstacles. You say no, and they negotiate. You ask for space, and they crowd you. You say you're busy, and they demand access anyway. This isn't misunderstanding, it's violation. When someone repeatedly crosses lines you've drawn to protect your time, your energy, your peace, they're revealing their true priority. They don't value your autonomy, they value their access to you. And access without respect is exploitation. They operate from entitlement, entitled to your presence, your emotional labor, your availability. Even when you're depleted, they keep taking, disguising control as concern. Boundaries terrify people who seek power over you because manipulation only works when access is unlimited. So they push, slowly, testing you, waiting for you to fold like you always have. They use guilt as leverage. You've changed. You're distant now. But the truth is simpler. You stopped letting them take without permission. That's what boundaries really do. They don't just protect your peace. They expose who never respected it. Anyone who responds to your limits with anger, withdrawal, or passive aggression is showing you that the relationship was built on convenience, not respect. Hear this clearly. You do not owe anyone unlimited access to your life, especially those who trample your spirit to satisfy their needs. Harm doesn't always come with aggression. Sometimes it comes with persistence. It wears you down through constant erosion until saying no feels impossible. But your peace is sacred. Your time is finite. Your presence is earned. Treat your boundaries like gates to your kingdom. Not everyone deserves entry, and those who try to force their way in are not friends. They are intruders. Then there are those who imitate you, not out of admiration, but out of envy. They study your words, your habits, your style, your energy. At first it feels flattering, familiar, like connection. They laugh like you, speak like you, move like you, mirror your values, and you think you've found someone who understands you. But what's happening is darker. They're wearing your identity like a costume, not to honor you, but to replace you. It begins subtly. Your phrases echoed back, your ideas reposted, your essence reflected just enough to blur the line between original and imitation. While you're still processing the resemblance, they're already working quietly behind you, planting doubt, questioning your intentions, undermining your credibility. They'll say things like, "I'm not sure they're genuine anymore," or "they've changed," slowly poisoning the trust others once had in you. The most twisted part is this. They use the version of you they copied as the standard, then present themselves as the real thing while casting you as the fraud. This isn't simple betrayal. It's identity theft with intent. These aren't insecure people looking for inspiration. They're vessels for a spirit that envies light but has no source of its own. It imitates because it cannot create. It steals because it is empty. And when it realizes it can't outshine you authentically, it tries to dim you through sabotage. Suddenly, people act distant. Stories circulate that don't match your truth. Support fades without explanation, and you're left wondering why. The answer is that someone weaponized your own essence to dismantle your reputation. This is psychological warfare disguised as admiration. And it's not just toxicity, it's deliberate. It's a parasitic spirit feeding on your brilliance, using your light to build an identity it never earned, then turning that stolen glow against you. The only way to overcome it is to remain anchored in who you are. Stay rooted in truth. Let time expose the imitation. No counterfeit survives long in the presence of authenticity. Guard your identity as if your life depends on it, because on a spiritual level, it does. They keep you bound through guilt. Not love, not respect, guilt. a leash woven from emotional manipulation, designed to keep you tethered long after the connection has expired. They don't care whether the bond is healthy or mutual. They care about access, your time, your energy, your loyalty. And the moment they sense you pulling away, healing, setting boundaries, they don't reflect or change. They apply pressure. They remind you of everything they've done, of how much they need you, of how hurt they'd be if you left. They know exactly where to strike, your empathy. They twist compassion into obligation and convince you that choosing yourself is betrayal. So you stay, not out of love, but out of fear. Fear of being labeled heartless. Fear of walking away while carrying their unmet needs. But guilt is not proof of love. It's a control mechanism used by those who profit from your silence and self-sacrifice. A demon never says thank you. It only asks, how could you? It attaches itself to your sense of duty and drains you slowly, exhausting you with responsibility that was never yours. They don't want healing. They want access. They don't want partnership. They want possession. As long as guilt keeps you tethered, they know you'll stay, even as your spirit withers. But love doesn't trap. Love doesn't threaten. Love doesn't demand self-erasure. Real love strengthens, uplifts, and releases. Guilt binds you to people who refuse to grow and resent your evolution because it weakens their grip. You are not required to shrink to make others feel secure. You are not responsible for maintaining false loyalty at the expense of your peace. You are not a savior. Emotional blackmail is spiritual abuse disguised as concern. The moment you recognize it, you face a choice. Remain in a prison built from guilt, or walk out and reclaim your soul. You owe no one permanent access who only stays when guilt keeps you from leaving. Let guilt go. Let yourself rise. Some people trigger anxiety you can't explain, not through words, but through presence. You can sit beside them and feel your heart race, your stomach tighten, your thoughts scatter, even though nothing seems wrong on the surface. They smile, they act normal, but something inside you recoils. That's not paranoia, it's discernment. Your body reacts to what your mind hasn't named yet. It senses energy that disrupts your peace, vibration that unsettles your nervous system. This anxiety doesn't come from conflict, it comes from misalignment, from being near energy that is deceptive, draining, or dark. They often wear charm and familiarity, saying the right things while carrying unrest beneath the surface, envy, bitterness, manipulation. You feel it even if you can't articulate it. You leave interactions doubting yourself, questioning your worth, feeling dimmer than before. That's not coincidence, that's spiritual interference. Anxiety is often the first warning. If being around someone consistently makes you feel smaller, scattered, ungrounded, it isn't connection. It's a signal. These people may look kind, but unresolved darkness clings to them, searching for an opening in you. Don't dismiss that feeling. Investigate it. Notice who you're with when your peace disappears. Peace never lies. Neither does tension. Sometimes anxiety isn't a disorder, it's a message. Your spirit saying, you're not safe here. And when your spirit speaks, listen. Protecting your peace is not selfish, it's survival. They take pleasure in your pain and grow uncomfortable with your progress. Your suffering makes them feel powerful. Your healing makes them feel invisible. When you're broken, they linger. When you're rising, they retreat. They downplay your wins. They mock your growth. They twist your joy into arrogance so they don't have to face their stagnation. They don't hate you. They hate what you represent. Growth they refuse to pursue. Healing they avoided. Potential they never cultivated. Your light exposes the darkness they learned to live with. They were never meant to walk with you into your becoming. They were present to see whether you'd stay small, to keep them comfortable. And when you outgrow the version of yourself that fed their ego, they mourn not your absence, but their loss of control. Pay attention to who celebrates your healing and who withdraws when you shine. Real love doesn't laugh at your pain or resent your progress. It stands beside your greatness without needing you diminished. And notice this too. When truth enters the room, when light is spoken, when God is named without fear, some people shift. Not always with arguments, but with discomfort. Silence thickens, resistance rises, something in them recoils. They were comfortable until clarity appeared, until righteousness challenged the shadows they carry. Light doesn't attack darkness, it exposes it, and anything that thrives in confusion will always resist truth.